Miss Shia, are you sure you want to have an induced abortion? You've undergone IVF 18 times, and your body is already depleted. If you terminate this pregnancy, you'll never be able to have children again. The attending physician was greatly puzzled by my request for an induced abortion. What about Mr. G? Does he agree as well? Mentioning Luca G made my heart tremble. I clenched my fists tightly to hold back the tears from falling. We never registered our marriage. I alone can decide whether to keep the child or not. Seemingly not expecting this answer, a flicker of surprise crossed the doctor's face. He pulled out my file, and in the marital status column, it clearly stated single. He sighed. All right, the surgery is scheduled for 7 days from now. The doctor handed me a business card. If you change your mind during this time, please feel free to contact me. As soon as he finished speaking, Luca G called. When I answered, his gentle voice came through. Tessa, I'm sorry I'm not with you on your birthday, but I've prepared a surprise for you. Look outside the window. I held my phone and walked to the window. Across from the hospital stood the largest commercial building in the city, and at that moment, the entire building displayed a huge line of text. Tessa Shia, I love you, Tessa. I will work hard to create a better life for you and the baby. I responded with an Then used being tired as an excuse to hang up the phone. Miss Shia, please don't mind me saying this, but should you reconsider? I can see Mr. G cares deeply about you and the child. If there's any misunderstanding, it might be better to clear it up. Once this decision is made, it'll be hard to take back. The usually reticent doctor advised once more. No wonder he was so surprised. Luca G has indeed been very good to me. 3 years ago, the bankruptcy of the Shia family was known throughout the city, but Luca G, disregarding the rumors and his family's objections, paid off my debts and filled the entire city with fireworks to propose to me. However, his household registration booklet was secretly hidden by the G family. We held a grand wedding but never officially registered our marriage. Tessa, a marriage certificate doesn't bind anything, but my heart will only ever beat for you. From my IVF treatments to my pregnancy, I was almost never alone at the hospital except this time. He said he had something urgent to do, but he never missed a single appointment before. Every time the doctor prescribed medication, he would always ask first if the medicine had any side effects on my body. His face full of tension and almost paranoid caution often left the doctor both amused and exasperated. All of this felt as beautiful as a fairy tale. If I hadn't accidentally uncovered Luca G's affair, I would have thought I was that happy Cinderella. A week ago, in the middle of the night, Luca G hadn't returned home from a social engagement. Unable to sleep in my 3rd trimester, I got up and took a stroll around the neighborhood, but at the villa entrance, I saw Luca G, completely drunk, holding his female secretary. The mother of my child will only be you. If you can't have children, I'll have Tessa Shia do it for you. At that moment, it felt as if even my breathing had stopped. My constitution tends to be cold, making it difficult for me to get pregnant. On the surface, Luca G says he doesn't like children, but several times in his sleep, he has murmured tearfully, "Baby, I really want a baby of my own." In order to have a child with him, I proposed IVF preparation, took countless traditional Chinese medicines, and after 18 rounds of IVF, I finally became pregnant. But what did Luca G say? The child I'm carrying is his and his female secretary's. I don't know how I made it home that night, but even now, thinking about it still sends chills down my spine. Miss Shia, the doctor, seeing that I seemed a bit dazed, couldn't help but ask with concern, "Are you all right?" I took the surgery consent form and carefully signed my name, stroke by stroke. "I'm fine. See you in 7 days. Also, please keep this matter confidential for me. Don't let Luca G know." After getting the doctor's confirmation, I left the hospital. On the way home, I received a text message from Luca G. "Tessa, next week is our wedding anniversary. I'll rush back to give you a surprise." I lifted the corner of my lips, thought for a moment, and replied, "I've prepared a surprise for you too." Luca G seemed very excited and sent several eager emojis in a row. "Tessa, I'm looking forward to it, but I'll love whatever you give me." I put my phone into my bag. "Luca G, I hope you will truly like this gift." In the late stages of pregnancy, legs are prone to cramping. I lay in bed tossing and turning, quietly waiting for the cramping pain to pass. Unexpectedly, the bed beside me sank a little. Before I could turn around, a pair of large, slightly cold hands gently touched my cramped calf. "Did your leg cramp up again?" Luca G's deep and gentle voice sounded, especially clear in the quiet night. He pressed my calf gently, one stroke after another, trying to soothe the restless muscles in my leg. I struggled to pull my leg free. But he held it firmly in place. "Don't move, it'll be over soon." I frowned and asked, "Why are you back?" Luca G had just left on a business trip yesterday and was originally scheduled to return next week. For some unknown reason, he appeared here at this moment. Could it be that something happened to Lu Weiwei? I understood in my heart, indeed. Only Lu Weiwei could make him drop everything and rush through the night. "What are you thinking about?" Luca G's cool fingertips gently touched my nose. "During our call earlier, I could tell from your tone that you were feeling down. I figured it was either the baby giving you a hard time, or you were upset because I wasn't with you. In any case, my darling wasn't in the best mood today." He continued massaging my hand. "Nothing is more important than you and the baby, so I came back right away." He coaxed gently, treating me like a fragile treasure. Yet I couldn't feel the slightest bit of happiness. Is it because I'm important, or is it because of the child in my womb, his and Lu Weiwei's child, that matters? But it doesn't matter anymore, because, whether it's me or the child in my womb, he will lose them both. Seeing that I remained silent, he pulled out a necklace as if by magic. Tardier. He presented it to me proudly, seeking praise. I begged the owner of this necklace for so long. It wasn't until I told her I wanted to give it to the love of my life that she finally agreed to part with it. The necklace is named Mermaid's Tears. Legend has it that it was formed from the tears shed by a mermaid prince who fell in love with a mortal princess, enduring the pain of his tail transforming into legs for her. It symbolizes true love. At this moment, he placed this symbol of true love around my neck, vowing that it would never be replaced in this lifetime. Yet he didn't notice that I never once expressed my feelings, because I knew that this so-called true love was nothing but an illusion. Both Luca G and I knew that his true love was not me. At that moment, the doorbell rang. Luca G visibly paused for a moment, then glanced at his phone and hurried to open the door. "Tessa, rest for now. Someone from the company is here to deliver an urgent document." After saying this, he didn't even wait to close the door before rushing straight to the entrance, as if guided by some inexplicable impulse. I followed him, but Luca G had already stepped outside. I opened the video doorbell, and under the dim streetlight, the image of a man and a woman tightly embracing came into view. Sure enough, he was still lying to me. It wasn't any urgent document at all, but rather a rendezvous with a beauty. I curled my lips in self-mockery, watching Lu Weiwei sobbing in Luca G's arms. Lu Weiwei was a financially disadvantaged student sponsored by Luca G and became his secretary after graduation. Originally, based on Lu Weiwei's educational background and qualifications, she wouldn't have been able to enter G Corporation. But Luca G personally went to the HR department to submit her resume and made an exception to hire her as the CEO's secretary. Within the company, there was widespread speculation about whether Lu Weiwei had some kind of background. Little did they know, her backer was Luca G himself. At this moment, Lu Weiwei was so wronged that tears were streaming down her face. "If I hadn't located you and found out you returned to the country, would you have even come to see me? Do you still love Tessa Xia? Am I not as important as her? Is that it?" Luca G held her tightly. "How could that be? There's only you in my heart. You know that better than anyone, don't you?" Then, he pulled out a necklace from his inner pocket, which was unmistakably the mermaid's tear. I touched the necklace around my neck, and my hands and feet suddenly turned cold. Could the necklace Luca G gave me be a fake? Under Lu Weiwei's expectant gaze, he put it on her. "This is the real mermaid's tear. I gave a high-quality replica to Tessa Xia." He wiped away the almost imperceptible tear on Lu Weiwei's eyelashes. "Silly girl, don't cry, be good." Lu Weiwei smiled through her tears, stood on tiptoe, and planted a kiss on Luca G's cheek. "I love you the most." Luca G looked at Lu Weiwei with overwhelming affection in his eyes, his gaze full of adoration. I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss. my heart aching from the cold. The necklace was forcibly torn off with brute strength, leaving a blood-red mark on my neck from the excessive force. Yet, I felt no pain at all. Physical pain is nothing compared to the intensity of a broken heart. I clenched my lips tightly, a sharp cramp twisting in my stomach, my legs nearly giving way. Leaning against the wall, I stumbled to the sofa and sat down. A few minutes later, Luca G pushed the door open and entered. Seeing me half lying on the sofa, my face deathly pale, he instantly grew tense, quickly stepping over and half kneeling before me. "What's wrong, Tessa? Why do you look so pale? Are you feeling unwell? Doctor, I'll call a doctor." His voice was choked with tears, his hands trembling so much he could barely hold his phone. The concern and urgency in his eyes seemed genuine, yet clearly, just moments ago, his heart and eyes were completely filled with another woman. "I don't understand. Can a person really split their heart into two halves? Or is his acting talent so extraordinary that it shows not a hint of pretense?" I calmed my breathing. "It's nothing, just the baby moving, it'll be over soon." He let out a sigh of relief, saying with lingering fear, "You scared me to death. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't want to live either." He leaned in and hugged me. "Tessa, nothing is more important to me than you. No more, we won't have any more children." I lowered my eyes and couldn't help but ask, "Really, nothing is more important than me?" Luca G immediately sensed something was wrong and asked cautiously, "What's the matter? Tessa, did I do something to make you feel insecure?" I shook my head. "No, I just had a nightmare." "What nightmare?" He sat beside me, watching me intently. "I dreamed that you've been lying to me all along, that you don't actually love me." "Impossible," Luca G interrupted me, his tone resolute. He was very excited, yet he tried hard to control his tone to make sure he wouldn't scare me. "Impossible, Tessa. Who else could I love besides you? Of course. It's your little secretary, Lu Weiwei." His tone was as gentle as a soft breeze and light rain, yet it eroded my heart like a violent storm. I hadn't had a chance to reply when his phone rang urgently. Luca G hesitated, got up, and stepped aside to answer it. He spoke in a low voice while glancing in my direction. As expected, Luca G hung up the phone and stammered to me, "Tessa, sorry, there's an urgent matter at the company." He crouched down, bringing his eyes level with mine. "I need to go handle this. If anything comes up, just call me, and I'll come back as soon as possible." I let out a low amham. Luca G, having received a response, couldn't wait to head out. Even forgetting to take his coat, I curled the corner of my lips in self-mockery. The moment the phone rang, I caught a glimpse of the caller ID out of the corner of my eye. The caller was Baby Weiwei, that secretary, Lu Weiwei, who just came to see him under the pretext of delivering documents. I tightly clutched the fake mermaid's tear, the raised edges digging painfully into my palm. No matter how tightly you hold onto something fake, it will never become real. I let go of my hand and casually tossed the necklace into the trash can. Mom called, her voice filled with urgency. "Tessa, what happened to you? Luca just called me, saying he has something urgent to attend to and asked me to come keep you company." "I'm fine, Mom," I spoke calmly. "No need to come keep me company. Luca G just tends to make a big deal out of things. It's so late. You should rest well." Hearing that I was fine, Mom's tone relaxed considerably, and she shifted to lecturing me. "Tessa, you must not say that in front of Luca. That boy really cares about you. You have no idea. Everyone else envies me for having such a wonderful son-in-law. They all say." I pinched the bridge of my nose and interrupted her. "Mom, I'm tired. Let's talk tomorrow." Mom chuckled. "Oh, you should cherish your blessings. You know, a golden catch like Luca, wealthy, loyal, and so attentive to you, is hard to come by." Mom hung up the phone, thoroughly satisfied. But I couldn't calm down for a long time. Yes, everyone says having Luca G is my blessing. But who knows, I'd rather not have this kind of blessing. I propped up my heavy belly, found all the photos of Luca G and me, and threw them one by one into the fire basin. The flames quickly devoured the photos. The sudden surge of heat touched my neck, and the unhealed rope burns began to ache with a faint, lingering pain that reached all the way to my temples. My eyes reflected the flames as I watched the photo turn to ashes. As if the memories between me and Luca G were also being consumed by the fire. Back when the Shia family went bankrupt, to cheer me up, he dressed as a clown, completely disregarding his status as the head of the G family. Singing and dancing on the bustling streets, it wasn't until I burst out laughing that he finally took off the clown costume, his face drenched in sweat. A passerby used a Polaroid to capture our interaction, printed the photo, and gave it to us. Your eyes are only for each other, you must be happy forever. Luca G took the photo with both hands. Thank you, definitely. He also kept the other person's contact information. When we have our golden wedding anniversary, we'll invite you to witness it. Golden anniversary. There won't be a golden anniversary. Oh, perhaps there will be a golden anniversary. It just won't be between me and Luca G. The photo quickly burned to ashes, and I couldn't hold on to my physical exhaustion any longer, falling into a deep sleep amidst the gradually dying flames. The next day when I woke up, Luca G was kneeling in front of the brazier, his eyes bloodshot, with dried tear stains still on his cheeks. Seeing that I was awake, he asked me in anguish, "Tessa, why did you burn our memories?" I replied expressionlessly, "No reason, I just don't like them anymore." Luca G was stunned by my answer. He might have imagined many reasons, such as me flipping through photos and accidentally dropping one into the brazier, or me being angry that he didn't accompany me and burning the photo out of frustration. But he clearly hadn't expected this reason. My calmness agitated him, and a clear panic surged between his brows. But he quickly forced himself to calm down. "It's okay, it doesn't matter, if the photo is gone, it's gone, we can take another one." He held my hand. "Tessa, as long as you and the baby are always by my side, that's enough." Immediately, he made a phone call. "Yes, my wife and I want to take a photo together. Arrange your best photographer for us." Time. He glanced at me. "I've already covered the photographer's fees for the entire month. They're on standby anytime." After hanging up, he was as happy as a child who had found something lost. "Tessa, once you're well rested, we'll have the photographer follow us and take photos. We'll take lots and lots, until you're satisfied." "Okay." I pressed my lips together. What is lost and found again is never the same as it was, especially when it's memories that have been burned away. Luca G, we can never go back. After finishing breakfast, the doorbell rang. Luca G mysteriously winked at me. "The surprise is here." As the door opened, a familiar yet unfamiliar face came into view. "Tessa, long time no see." "Tessa, I've missed you so much." She is my best friend and confidant, but ever since the Shia family went bankrupt, both of us were forced by our respective families to go abroad. After that, we lost contact. I don't know how Luca G managed to get in touch with them, or why he brought them home at this time. I stood up excitedly, my eyes brimming with tears. "I admit, I was genuinely surprised. I miss you all so much too." Luca G stood by my side the entire time in a supportive posture, worried that I might get too excited and have an accident. After the initial excitement, the three of us sat on the sofa making small talk. Luca G got up and brought us some fruits from the kitchen, then sat quietly to the side, smiling as he looked at me. The two of them teased, "Mr. G, you look like a total wife slave." "Yeah," staring at our Tessa without blinking, almost like a wife watching stone. "What? Can't get enough of looking at her even in your daily life?" Luca G blushed at their teasing and raised his hands in surrender. "Alright, I get it, you're kicking me out. I'll go. I won't interrupt your sisterly catch-up." He poured a glass of warm water and handed it to me. "You chat here, I'll go work. Remember to drink water." Then, with his hands clasped together, he pleaded with my best friends, "Please take care of my big treasure and little treasure for a while." My best friends eagerly agreed. After Luca G went upstairs and was completely out of sight, the two of them suddenly felt a bit sad. "Tessa, how have you been all these years? I'm sorry I couldn't help you back then." I waved my hand. "No need to say that, you were forced into it too." Before the two of them were forcibly sent abroad, they secretly transferred all the money they had to me through various means. That's why, after the Shia family went bankrupt, I didn't end up on the streets. Until Luca G found me. Their eyes were moist. "Seeing that you're doing well puts our minds at ease. Your partner here has really been incredible to you." He started negotiating with our family 2 months ago, and somehow reached an agreement that allowed us to return. I didn't want to spoil the mood or worry my best friends so soon after our reunion, so I just smiled and said, "Amham." Seeing that I didn't want to say more, the two of them switched to other topics. From funny stories during school days to their respective experiences after parting ways, time flies. About half an hour later, Luca G appeared again, holding a cup of warm milk and looking at me affectionately. "Beautiful mom, take a break for a moment, it's time for your calcium supplement." He extended a gentlemanly invitation to my girlfriends. "The room is ready. If possible, while I'm away, I'd like to ask you two ladies to accompany Tessa for a few days." After saying this, he took out a Centurion black card. "All expenses during this time are on me." The two of them were overjoyed and teased enviously. All right, I approve of this brother-in-law. I could no longer keep the smile on my face. It was too fake, so fake it made me sick, but I couldn't tear off the mask just yet. Drowsiness washed over me, and after a few yawns, my girlfriends persuaded me to go rest. Luca G escorted me back to my room, helped me lie down on the bed, tucked me in, kissed my forehead, and then quietly slipped out the door. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep for a while, but I just couldn't fall asleep, so I got up, washed my face, and decided to go for a drive with my girlfriends. Just as I reached the staircase, I heard someone opening the door and coming in. I looked down. Lu Weiwei, in a pink lace dress, rushed into Luca G's arms like the wind. Luca G opened his arms to hold her, then pressed her head and gave her a deep French kiss. And the girlfriends who had just been chatting and laughing with me, praising Luca G for being a doting husband, showed no surprise at all. Instead, with a playful expression, "TSK, showing off your affection." I stood at the top of the stairs, watching everything unfold below, feeling nothing but a chill throughout my body. It turns out they hadn't appeared out of nowhere and had long known about Lu Weiwei's existence. Today's reunion and everything that happened were all just an act put on for my benefit. What about 3 years ago? Clearly, they defied their families for my sake and even secretly transferred all their liquid assets to me. Was that also an act, or are people's hearts just fickle? I don't understand. You guys are really bold. Tessa is sleeping upstairs, the best friend said teasingly. Luca G kissed Lu Weiwei's forehead. "She's in her 3rd trimester and tends to sleep a lot. As long as you don't shout or make loud noises, you won't wake her up." He sure knows about the 3rd trimester. But he didn't know that after the belly grows, the internal organs get compressed, making it hard to even breathe, and it's impossible to sleep well as a result. Every day she would be under the illusion of wanting to sleep anytime, anywhere. Her close friends raised their eyebrows. "You really have Tessa completely under your thumb. Does she know she's carrying your child?" Luca G peeled an orange and handed a segment to Lu Weiwei's mouth. Lu Weiwei naturally opened her mouth to eat it. Luca plans to wait until she gives birth before discussing it. The close friends exchanged a smile and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. If Tessa knew that Weiwei is actually the one Mr. G treasures the most, I wonder what expression she would make. This isn't even the worst part. When she's just given birth and finds out the child she conceived through 18 rounds of IVF and carried for 10 months isn't even hers, won't she be so enraged she might suffer a postpartum hemorrhage? Hearing this, Luca G stopped smiling and warned in a low voice, "Before the child is born, no one is allowed to reveal even the slightest hint, otherwise you'll face the consequences." The two quickly assured him, "Don't worry, 3 years ago, you told us to disappear from Tessa Shia's world, and we didn't leave a single trace, did we? She's been looking for us for 3 years. But who would have guessed we never actually left? No wonder they say CEO G's plan is brilliant." These words clearly pierced my ears, like a saw cutting through my eardrums, making my head ache unbearably. A few people chatted and laughed without restraint. My whole body felt as if it were entwined by venomous snakes, and I couldn't help but tremble. My foot began to cramp again, yet I stiffly shuffled toward the room as if feeling the pain. I don't know how much strength I used, but as soon as I got close to the bed, I collapsed onto it as if all my energy had been drained. The child in my womb began to kick and punch with all its might. With every movement, I felt as if my throat was being squeezed. making it hard to breathe, in the past. I was willing to endure this pain because I thought it was the fruit of love between Luca G and me. If it meant continuing our bloodline, what was a little suffering? But the result was not. Tears involuntarily streamed down my cheeks, stinging sharply. It's fake, everything is fake, the necklace is fake. The child in my womb is not mine, my best friend's friendship is fake, Luca G's love is also fake. All of this is just a false world that Luca G has woven for me. I stared blankly at the ceiling. My mind a complete void. What is even real? I passed out. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. The nurse changing my 4-drip saw that I was awake and exclaimed with a mix of relief and reproach, "You're finally awake. Why didn't you tell your family right away if you weren't feeling well? You scared us to death." You know, she deftly changed my 4 while pressing the call button. "Quick, notify Mr. G. Mrs. G is awake." As soon as the words were spoken, Luca G rushed in. And rushed was no exaggeration, his face was full of lingering fear as he tightly grasped my hand. "It's all my fault, even though you were right by my side, I still couldn't take good care of you." He grabbed my hand and pressed it against his face. "Tessa, hit me, punish me." I withdrew my hand and remained silent without speaking. "Luca," Lu Weiwei came in, her eyes sweeping over me and Luca G. She stamped her foot and said, "Sister Tessa has medical staff taking care of her. There's nothing you can do here, the company is still waiting for you to attend the meeting." Luca G frowned and scolded, "Who told you to come here? Didn't I say that in front of Tessa? Work takes a backseat. And also, call me President G." Lu Weiwei's eyes instantly reddened, her words coming out with a sob. "Understood. I'll take my leave then." She deliberately let out a HMPH, glared, and turned to leave in her high heels. Luca G instinctively stood up to chase after her. But after glancing at me lying in bed, he sat back down. Not long after, the doctor came for rounds, and Luca G was asked to leave the room. After the rounds, he still hadn't returned. I received a voice message from Luca G, sent 5 minutes ago. "Tessa, I'm going to the office for a bit and will be back soon." Just then, Lu Weiwei sent a picture. It's her and Luca G's marriage certificate. My breath suddenly tightened, and with trembling hands, I clicked on the image. The registration date displayed was December 12, 2021. That was 3 years ago. On the day of my wedding with Luca G, they had actually gotten their marriage certificate 3 years ago, and I was forced to be the other woman for 3 years. A fine, dense pain began to spread in my lower abdomen, and the whole world started spinning. I want to ask Luca G, what exactly have I been to you these past 3 years? I really want to cry, but I can't even shed a tear anymore. Immediately, Lu Weiwei's voice messages came one after another. "Tessa Xia, what are you so proud of? A bankrupt, down and out heiress. What right do you have to monopolize Luca? Did you see that? You're the other woman in this relationship. Let me tell you another secret. The child in your belly is mine and Luca's. Luca said he couldn't bear to see me suffer, so he had you carry it for me. If you know what's good for you, have the baby obediently and then disappear. We might still throw you a bone to keep you barely alive, otherwise, don't blame us for being ruthless. Tessa Xia, don't think it's unfair, this is what you owe me." Hearing Lu Weiwei's vicious and provocative words, I closed my eyes and casually placed the phone on the coffee table. What is the expectant mother looking at? Luca G returned and embraced me from behind, carrying a scent that was both familiar and unfamiliar. It was the jasmine fragrance that Lu Weiwei always used, nothing much. I pushed him away. The mingled scent of faint tobacco and jasmine made me nauseous, and the long-absent morning sickness returned with a vengeance. Luca G panicked, gently patting my back. "You're almost due. Why has the morning sickness started again?" I ignored him. My stomach was churning, and not vomiting on him was the height of my restraint. "Marry him, marry him." A burst of cheers came from downstairs. My gaze followed the window outside, but all I could see was the blue sky, with a few birds flying by occasionally. Luca G helped me stand up. Someone must be proposing downstairs. He poured me a glass of water and cut an apple for me, feeling envious. "After you give birth, we'll get our marriage certificate. And then we'll have a wedding that will shake the entire city." Okay, I felt a pang of bitterness. Get our marriage certificate. Didn't you already get your marriage certificate with Lu Weiwei a long time ago? He suddenly knelt on one knee. Tessa, I know you've always cared about not having the marriage certificate. Before, I wasn't capable enough. But now, I've cleared all the obstacles. He looked at me earnestly, word by word. Tessa, I will give you everything you want. Looking at his incredibly sincere face, I suddenly smiled. Luca G, I said, if you can't do it, don't lie to me. Once I find out you lied to me. Luca G panicked instantly. How could I possibly lie to you? I love you too much to do that. He spoke a lot about our past, proving that he had never lied to me. But the more he tried to explain, the more incoherent he seemed. Finally, he raised 3 fingers and swore to the heavens. Tessa, if I ever hurt you, may I be struck by lightning. 3 years ago, when he confessed his feelings to me, he made a similar vow. Tessa, give me a chance to take care of you. I swear I will never do anything to let you down. If I break this promise, back then, I pressed my index finger to his lips to stop him from continuing. No need to swear, I believe you. That night, I made up my mind to spend the rest of my life with him. And what was the result? While he claimed to love me, he was also in love with someone else. I was deeply hurt by him. Yet he continued to profess his love for me. I don't know how he managed to do it. This time, I didn't stop him from making a solemn vow as he had expected, and Luca G's face darkened unnaturally, but he quickly composed himself, his eyes brimming with adoration. My heart, my person, even my life, they are all yours. I looked at him expressionlessly and did not respond. Luca G's phone rang. He hung up, but it rang again. After the 3rd time, I spoke calmly, answer it. He didn't answer it immediately. Instead, he kissed my forehead, walked to the window, and whispered with a frown. I knew who he was talking to, because just seconds ago, Lu Weiwei had sent me another WeChat message. Tessa Xia, what do you mean by not replying? Are you feeling proud just because Luca is with you now? Believe it or not, I can make him leave with just one phone call. Sure enough, after ending the call, Luca G hurriedly grabbed his coat. Sorry Tessa. I have to continue my business trip, temporarily back. It's a mess over there now. Everyone is waiting for me to return and take charge of the work. I nodded. Go ahead, go find your Lu Weiwei. Do everything you want to do, as long as you leave my world. I never want to see you again, Luca G. He hesitated for a few seconds, then walked away without looking back, as if the affectionate person from moments ago was not him. An hour later, Lu Weiwei sent a photo of herself and Luca G at the airport. You lost, Tessa Xia. What if the whole world knows you're Mrs. G? Luca loves me, even on a business trip. He can't bear to be apart from me. Lu Weiwei was quite proud, as if competing for Luca G's love was the entirety of her life. I still didn't reply. Actually, Lu Weiwei is quite pitiful too. I openly bear the title of Mrs. G, but she is the legitimate, legally recognized Mrs. G. Yet she is kept hidden and unable to step into the spotlight. We both seem to be loved by Luca G, yet neither of us has truly received real love, but she clearly doesn't see it that way. It's fine. What she wants is what I'm giving up. If she wants it, she can have it. Luca G rarely messages me these days while he's away on a business trip. It was Lu Weiwei, however, who kept sending messages like a real-time tracker, kissing on a cruise ship, passionate moments in a hotel, lighting the sky lantern at an auction. All of it was Luca G's unreserved devotion to her. As I looked at these photos, the turmoil in my heart gradually subsided. I had someone pack up and sell everything in the house that was related to me. Although everything was bought with Luca G's money, I also spent 3 years with him and was deceived by him for 3 years. All of this is what I deserve. Since I want to cut all ties with him, everything related to him should be cleared away completely. 3 days later, I sold everything that could be sold at a low price. Only some unsellable love letters and worthless dolls were left piled up in the living room. I mailed the dolls to the welfare center, then I burned the love letters. I have been admitted to the hospital. The doctor said everything is ready, and the surgery can begin in 3 hours. Half an hour before entering the operating room, Luca G made a video call. He seemed to be in a conference room, with a PowerPoint presentation still displayed on the screen behind him, as if he had taken a break in the middle of a meeting. Tessa, Mom just called me and said you booked her a 10-day international trip. Why did you arrange it this way? His brow furrowed slightly, feeling quite puzzled about the matter. Mom is a traditional woman, so traditional that she would even endure tears and tolerate her husband's infidelity. The thing she says to me most often is, "Tessa, you're so lucky to have found a husband as good as Luca G. You should cherish him. It's inevitable for men to put on a show outside. Just turn a blind eye and let it pass." She treats Luca G as her own son. If she knew the truth, she might try to stop me. So, I signed her up for a tour group to get her away. I smiled and said, "It's nothing. Mom has always talked about wanting to see the world, and once I give birth, she won't have the chance, so I arranged this trip for her." Luca G seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. "My wife is so filial. I must have done some incredible good deeds in my past life to be able to marry you." I smirked sarcastically, staring fixedly at him. Luca G's heart inexplicably began to panic, but he had no time to think it through. Suddenly, he let out a restrained hum, and an unbearable expression appeared on his face. His lips tightly pressed together. Faintly, I heard a cat-like female voice, combined with Luca G's reaction. What else was there not to understand? Luca G and Lu Weiwei, they were engaging in indecent acts right in front of me. It's not just me who can't stand it anymore, but also Luca G, he hurriedly said. The meeting is about to start, and hung up the phone. 10 minutes later, Luca G sent a message. "Sorry, my dear wife, I was supposed to rush back today to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But I'm really tied up with work. Tomorrow, I'll fly back first thing tomorrow morning." Okay. He paired it with an expression of kneeling and begging for mercy. At the same time, Lu Weiwei's message also arrived. She sent a provocative photo of Luca G looking dazed. "Tessa Shia, your wedding anniversary is also the anniversary of Luca and me. Tell me, who do you think he will choose?" "Choose who? I'm not an object. How could it be up to Luca G to pick and choose?" I replied to Luca G with a message. "It's okay. As soon as you come back, you'll see the surprise I left for you." Then I pulled out the SM card and threw it into the toilet. The swirling water quickly swallowed the chip, and it vanished without a trace. The moment I lay down on the operating table, the bright lights made it almost impossible to keep my eyes open, yet I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Luca G, all of this should come to an end. The surgery was very successful. The moment the anesthetic was injected into the tailbone, everything faded away like smoke. After the surgery, I hired a nanny to take care of me during my postpartum confinement, and I used her identity to check into a hotel. Then, I booked a flight to Tibet for 10 days later. Meanwhile, in a certain hotel, Luca G suddenly felt a pang of heartache, and he abruptly opened his eyes, pushing aside the deeply sleeping Lu Weiwei. "What's wrong, Luca?" "It's the middle of the night. Did you have a nightmare?" Lu Weiwei, still drowsy, wrapped her naked body around his. "Go back to sleep. I'm so worn out from all your antics, Tilda." Normally, when Lu Weiwei acted this coquettish, Luca G would forget everything else. His heart and eyes filled only with her. For some unknown reason, he felt very flustered at this moment, as if he had lost something extremely important. He opened WeChat, but aside from the work group, there were no message notifications. "Rest well, I have something urgent to attend to and need to go back." He stopped Lu Weiwei's mischievous hand, recalling the promise he made on their wedding night 3 years ago. "No matter how busy I get in the future, I will always be with you on our wedding anniversary." This year, he broke his promise on their wedding anniversary. Tessa must be throwing a little tantrum, otherwise, with her personality, she would have already bombarded him with WeChat messages. Thinking of this, Luca G's lips curled into a slight smile. "But didn't we agree you'd spend time with me today?" "I don't care, you're not allowed to leave." Lu Weiwei suddenly became much more alert, pressing her lips against Luca G's sensitive spot. Luca G groaned. "Stop messing around, I really have something urgent to do." But Lu Weiwei didn't stop her actions. No man can resist a woman's initiative. Sure enough, Luca G quickly lost his composure. He turned the tables, flipping over and pinning Lu Weiwei down. "You asked for this." After several rounds of passion, he got up, dressed, tucked the exhausted Lu Weiwei in, and hurriedly called a car to the airport. He rescheduled to the earliest flight and tried to catch some sleep on the plane, but he couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard he tried. The moment the plane landed, he took out his phone to call Tessa Shea, but couldn't get through no matter how hard he tried, filled with anxiety. He dashed out of the airport and urged the driver to speed home. "Tessa, I'm back. I rushed home as soon as the project ended, and I brought you a gift." His words cut off abruptly, holding the exquisitely wrapped gift box. The unease in his heart grew even stronger. The villa was quiet, as if there had never been a mistress. The wedding photos that were once everywhere in the living room were gone. His heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of his chest, and he rushed upstairs. "Tessa, I'm back." He pushed open the door, his voice deliberately raised, tinged with unmistakable fear. Compared to the living room, the room was even more empty. Luca G's gaze swept around, noticing that all the cosmetics on the dressing table had disappeared. A gift box lay rolled on the floor, and an unbelievable thought suddenly arose. Has Tessa left him? No, it can't be. The Shea family has gone bankrupt, and all of the Shea family's relatives have cut off contact with Tessa. As for Mrs. Shea, she is even more fragile and relies on her daughter for everything. In this world, Tessa could not possibly turn to anyone else but him. He forced himself to calm down. Tessa loved tidying up and rearranging things. Perhaps she had moved items like her cosmetics to a different place. Also, her mother had repeatedly emphasized that pregnant women should not wear makeup, as it could affect the baby. Perhaps, with the baby about to be born, Tessa came to understand and agreed with her mother's perspective. Luca G convinced himself and began searching for traces of the lady of the house in the villa. He opened the wardrobe door and found only one set of women's clothing left inside. Just having convinced himself, he began to panic once again. He searched every room before truly realizing that the scent of Tessa Shea had almost entirely been wiped clean from the villa. All the women's toiletries in the bathroom had been thrown into the trash. In the nursery, the baby supplies prepared by Tessa Shea herself had vanished. What unsettled him the most was that Tessa Shea's identification documents, including her ID card and passport, were missing from the safe. Of course, along with these, the jewelry he had given her also disappeared. He was almost on the verge of a breakdown. He instinctively took out his phone and made a call as he walked. The phone emitted a busy tone, but he refused to give up, dialing over and over again. Walking to the villa entrance, he ran into Nanny Jong, who was carrying large and small bags of luggage. Tessa Shea preferred peace and quiet, and aside from the part-time housekeeper, Nanny Jong was the only live-in nanny. "Nanny Jong, what are you doing?" Luca G's voice was icy. "Where has Madam gone? And where have you moved all of Madam's things from the house?" he snapped sharply. As if that could soothe the inner turmoil in his heart, Nanny Jong was puzzled. "Sir, don't you know, the mistress gave me a severance payment and told me I don't need to come anymore. She said your relationship has broken down, and a few days ago, she took all her things away." I thought, what? She moved out? The guess was confirmed, and Luca G felt as if struck by lightning, almost unable to stand, bracing himself against the wall to stay upright. Did Madam say where she was going? Luca G's heart felt as if gripped by a large hand, making it hard to breathe. For the first time, he became clearly aware, his Tessa, perhaps, has left him. But why? He loved her so much, and she loved him just as deeply, even willing to endure the torment of 18 IVF attempts, just to have a child with him. "Sir," Nanny Jong's suddenly raised voice interrupted his train of thought. "These are words I, as a servant, shouldn't say, but the mistress has been very good to me, and I know very well how much she has given for you. What's more, she is heavily pregnant. Since she has made such a choice at this time, it means she is completely heartbroken. Clinging to her will only make her run further away." Aunt Jong had always been kind and gentle, but this was the first time she spoke to him in such a tone, like an elder. "What do you know?" he almost shouted at Mrs. Jong, emphasizing, "Tessa is just throwing a tantrum. She loves me so much. How could she run away?" Mrs. Jong rolled her eyes, giving him a look as if he were insane, then picked up her luggage and left. Luca G checked the surveillance footage, but it had been completely destroyed 7 days prior. making it impossible to even attempt a recovery. He wanted to call everyone who might know Tessa Shear's whereabouts, to ask if they knew where his Tessa had gone. He opened his contacts, only to find that he could only reach her two best friends and her mother. It suddenly occurred to him that Tessa Shear had arranged an international trip for Mrs. Shear a few days ago. At the time, although he found her reasoning flimsy, he didn't think much of it, so Tessa didn't act on a whim. She had planned it all along. At this thought, Luca G's eyes reddened. He was born into a wealthy family, had a smooth-sailing life, and always had everything under his control, but this time, he felt a sense of fear from losing control. Although the hope was slim, Luca G still pressed the contact button for Tessa Shear's close friend. "Has Tessa contacted any of you?" The person on the other end was clearly taken aback and asked, "Tessa is missing." "Oh, it's nothing, just a little disagreement. I'll look for her again." He hung up the phone, scrolled through his contacts, but realized there was no one else he could reach out to. His legs began to weaken, and he could no longer stand. Finally, he crouched on the ground, staring blankly at the sky. "Tessa, why on earth?" Ding dong. Luca G's phone received an anonymous text message. He opened it to take a look. "The gift is in the coffee table drawer. It's Tessa." Tessa texted him. Luca G felt like a drowning man grabbing onto a lifebuoy, overjoyed and even secretly proud. He knew it, Tessa Shear couldn't live without him. He brushed the dust off his pants and joyfully trotted back to the villa. The moment his fingertips touched the drawer, his joy reached its peak. Inside the drawer lay a letter, quietly waiting. What could it be? He began to guess. Could it be a love letter? Tessa once said that they skipped the romance of their youthful years and plunged headlong into marriage. And love letters are the most secret and sweetest love in the painful youth. He carefully picked up the envelope, tore open the seal, unfolded the letter. And a notice for an induced abortion suddenly appeared before his eyes. His smile froze on his face. Impossible. How could it be a notice for an induced abortion surgery? His hands trembled uncontrollably as he began frantically calling the doctor. After more than 20 calls, the doctor, who had just stepped out of the operating room, finally answered the phone. "Yes, Miss Shear had the surgery yesterday." Luca G exploded, screaming hysterically, "This is illegal. I am the child's father. How dare you perform the surgery without my consent? I'm going to sue you." The doctor had intended to comfort him, but after being yelled at, he lost his patience. "Miss Shear is single. All decisions only require her own consent." After saying this, the doctor hung up the phone, leaving only the busy tone beeping. Luca G looked as if he had lost his parents. The surgical consent form crumpled into a wrinkled ball in his hand. He staggered back 2 steps and collapsed onto the sofa in despair. Tessa actually didn't even want the child. He smoothed out the surgical consent form again, his fingers tracing the spot where Tessa Shear had signed. He was studying the signature with great concentration, hoping that someone had imitated Tessa's handwriting to fool him, and that the doctor was part of a carefully orchestrated prank by someone with ill intentions. He examined it carefully and repeatedly for a full quarter of an hour, only to despairingly realize that it was indeed Tessa Shear's authentic signature. The tail of the character she wrote had a slight upward curl, a detail that even imitators rarely paid attention to. But why did Tessa do this? This question began to trouble him again. He started to recall every moment he spent with Tessa Shear, and those unusual yet overlooked details gradually became clear. Perhaps Tessa had long known that the child in her womb wasn't hers. Luca G thought in a daze. Otherwise, why would she be so heartless as to abort the child? The child was already 8 months old. In just 2 more months, the child should have been born. He still remembered the first time the baby kicked. Tessa Shear was so overjoyed, radiating with maternal love, saying she would give all her love to the child. But now, she has resolutely made the decision to have an induced abortion. Apart from this reason, he couldn't think of any other motive that would prompt Tessa Shear to make this decision. But when did she find out? She was so heartless, willing to harm her own body just to get rid of the child. Even if the child isn't her own, she carried it for a full 8 months, and no matter what, this child is still Luca G's own flesh and blood. If Tessa Shear truly loves him, shouldn't she grit her teeth and accept all of this? At worst, he can just compensate her double in the future. Why did she have to be so uncompromising? Why? Why didn't she give him a chance to explain and persuade her to stay? Luca G's eyes reddened, tears seeping from the corners. He suddenly remembered what Tessa Shea had said when he proposed. I will do everything in my power to spend the rest of my life with you, on the condition that there is never any betrayal. At that time, due to an accident, he had already become entangled with Lu Weiwei, after Tessa Shea accepted his marriage proposal. His immediate thought was to cut all ties with Lu Weiwei. From then on, he had no other intentions and remained devoted solely to Tessa Shea. But later, just 3 days before his wedding with Tessa Shea, Lu Weiwei claimed she was pregnant and demanded that he give her a proper status. He flatly refused. Tessa Shea was the one he cherished most, the unattainable love he had gone to great lengths to hold in his arms, even resorting to underhanded methods to win her over. How could he possibly abandon Tessa Shea and choose Lu Weiwei instead? Lu Weiwei ran out, heartbroken. Then there was a car accident, the child was lost, and Lu Weiwei also lost her ability to bear children. She threatened to commit suicide, making a scene and threatening to expose the matter to Tessa Shea. Out of helplessness, he compromised. He and Lu Weiwei got their marriage certificate. Calming her down, at first, he really just wanted to placate Lu Weiwei, thinking he would find the right opportunity to confront her and get a divorce. But at some point, he became infatuated with the thrill of cheating on Tessa Shea. Indulging in Lu Weiwei's audacity and boldness, she would seduce him in the office, seizing every opportunity to tease him. Slowly, under Lu Weiwei's influence, he began to blame Tessa Shea for her miscarriage. Although Tessa Shea and Lu Weiwei had no connection whatsoever, he simply felt that Tessa Shea owed Lu Weiwei something. He started trying every possible way to make it up to Lu Weiwei. When Lu Weiwei proposed the idea of openly having a child with him, he didn't even hesitate before agreeing to the suggestion of having Tessa Shea carry the child through IVF for her. He thought he could easily keep this matter hidden and balance the needs of both women. Once Tessa Shea gave birth to the child, he planned to make up an excuse, saying the doctor had mixed up the eggs and that the child was actually Lu Weiwei's. This way, Lu Weiwei could raise her own child, and he would have a legitimate reason to openly acknowledge the child as his. As for Tessa Shea, just coax her and do another round of IVF. But he forgot that Tessa Shea was never someone he could manipulate. Back when the Shea family went bankrupt, Mr. Shea committed suicide by jumping off a building. And all the relatives and friends of the Shea family came out to bully the orphaned mother and daughter, while Mrs. Shea could only weep helplessly. It was Tessa Shea who stood in front of her, argued fiercely, refused to yield an inch, and tore off the hypocritical masks of those people, protecting both Mrs. Shea and herself. Such a Tessa Shea, after learning of his betrayal and even his exploitation of her, how could she possibly stay and compromise for him? Tessa Shea knew Luca G well. She understood that if she confronted him, he would stop at nothing to prevent her from having the abortion, so she sent Mrs. Shea away in advance and colluded with the doctor to keep the news tightly under wraps. Thus, she did not hesitate to harm her own body, resolutely getting rid of this child that did not belong to her. She wants to completely cut ties with him. At this thought, Luca G bit his lip hard, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Tessa, I won't let go, even if you die. You can only be my ghost, Luca G's ghost. He subconsciously crumpled the surgery consent form into a ball and threw it into the trash can. But then again, Tessa Shea had erased all traces of herself from the villa, and this notice might be the only evidence he had to prove that Tessa Shea had once loved him. He picked the crumpled paper out of the trash again, smoothing it out bit by bit, tracing each word with his fingertips. His heart ached with bitterness, followed by a surge of deep regret. When Tessa Shea left, turning his thoughts into reality, he realized just how much he loved her. Tessa, it's my fault. I shouldn't have been involved with another woman, and I definitely shouldn't have let you carry another woman's child. Tessa, please come back. I'll accept any punishment or scolding. Just don't leave me. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Tessa, I can't lose you. Luca G's words of regret were repeated countless times, tears falling unconsciously. soaking the front of his clothes, but the only response he received was the ticking of the clock. Tessachia was no longer in the villa. No matter how much he repented, Tessachia could not hear him. No matter how much he admitted his mistakes, it was all in vain. Tessachia, I've only made the mistake that all men in the world make. Why won't you give me a chance? We can have another child, but I won't agree to separate from you. Luca G's eyes turned icy cold as he clenched his right fist and slammed it hard on the coffee table. He had worked so hard to win her over. How could he let her go so easily over one mistake? He absolutely must find her, and then apologize to her. They still need to have 2 more children. The future is so beautiful. But what if there's no Tessachia? He dares not think about it. He cannot live without her. Luca G carefully folded the surgical consent form and placed it in his inner chest pocket. When he found Tessachia, he still wanted to ask her if she felt a little reluctant when she made the decision to terminate the pregnancy. He then retrieved all records of Tessachia from his phone and backed up their WeChat chat to the cloud. This wasn't enough. Luca G pulled up all the photos of Tessachia on his phone, had them printed at a Photoshop, and then framed them. Filling almost every corner of the villa, after all this was done, his anxious heart seemed to find release. Wherever he went, he could see different versions of Tessachia. Tessachia playing by the seaside, Tessachia cheering on the mountaintop, Tessachia eating ice cream and breathing out mist in the dead of winter, and Tessachia dancing, singing, cooking. He deliberately ignored the emptiness in his heart, telling himself that Tessachia would eventually return, as if she had never left. He deceived himself, catching a glimpse of blue in the trash can by the door. What was that? Luca G approached step by step, knelt down, and pushed aside the discarded items half covering the blue. His heart tightened. It was a mermaid's tear. He weakly scooped up the mermaid's tears, his vision blurred by his own. The mermaid's tears symbolized his love for her. How could she just throw them away? Did he truly hold no weight in her heart at all? She had gotten rid of the child to get back at him. And he could understand that, after all, the child wasn't his and hers. But the mermaid's tear is unique to them, representing their love. She threw away the mermaid's tear and left him. In her heart, has he become a stranger? No, even worse than a stranger. Then, will there be someone else by her side? Tessachia is so wonderful. Even after they got married, there were many admirers vying for her attention. Now that she is single again, will a bunch of wild men flock to her? He thought resentfully. Both angry that Tessachia gave him no chance and worried that someone else might get to her first, he had almost forgotten that the real mermaid's tear had been given by him to Lu Weiwei. At the same time, he hated himself for not being able to control his lower desires. He also resented Lu Weiwei. If it weren't for this woman seducing and coercing him, how could he and Tessachia have ended up like this? Yes, it's all because of Lu Weiwei. As long as she is gone, as long as the problem is solved at its root, Tessachia will come back. Luca G took out his phone and sent a message to Lu Weiwei. I'll give you 5 million. Never show up in front of me and Tessa again. Less than a second after the message was sent, his phone rang, and Lu Weiwei's nearly hysterical scream came from the other end. Luca G, what's wrong with you? Get this straight. I am your legal wife, and she, Tessachia, is nothing but the other woman. Luca G suddenly realized something and asked in a trembling voice, did you tell Tessa all this? Lu Wei was taken aback for a moment, then sneered, yes, I did, I only told the truth. Luca G was absolutely furious. Why did you do this? His voice was cold and furious. If Lu Weiwei were in front of him, he could hardly guarantee that he wouldn't lay a hand on her. That was his beloved Tessachia. How dare Lu Weiwei? To his surprise, Lu Weiwei wasn't as flustered as he had imagined. Her tone was a mix of anger and grievance. Why, Luca G, you're asking me why? Then let me ask you, why shouldn't I tell Tessachia? I am your real wife, yet I can't openly stand by your side as Mrs. G. It was clearly me who first shared a real marital bond with you, yet you heartlessly abandoned me for Tessachia, and our first child was lost because of it. Not to mention, she choked up, not to mention, I can never have children again after that. Luca G, it's you who owes me, it's Tessachia who owes me. Over the past 3 years, Luca G had not refrained from offering compensation to Lu Weiwei and then proceeding with the divorce. Every time this happened, as long as she cried, threw a tantrum, and brought up the past, Luca G would give in. Although the nature of the situation was different this time, Lu Weiwei didn't think the outcome would be any different. She waited for Luca G to soften as usual, but she waited for what felt like an eternity, so long that she began to feel anxious. Only then did Luca G grit his teeth and say, "Let's talk in person." Lu Weiwei breathed a sigh of relief, instinctively ignoring the odd tone in Luca G's voice. "See, he still falls for this." She immediately called a car and arrived at the G family villa in less than 15 minutes. Entering the villa, she looked around at everything inside. In the past, she had always come here as an outsider, but now, she had the aura of a hostess. Luca, seeing Luca G approaching, she raised a smile and trotted forward, ready to throw herself into his arms, but before she could even touch the hem of his clothes, she was unexpectedly struck by a slap. "I warned you not to go running to Tessashia and talk nonsense without permission. Who gave you the nerve?" Luca G lifted Lu Weiwei's chin, his face ashen. "Am I giving you too much face, huh?" Only then did Lu Weiwei belatedly feel afraid. Trembling all over, her words came out faltering. "Fang, Luca, I." The mermaid's tear around her neck slipped out. Luca G stared at the necklace, stunned. Luca G must love her the most, otherwise, why would he give her the real mermaid's tears and use a fake one to deceive Tessashia? And the reason he's so angry now is simply because he's upset that she took matters into her own hands. As long as she shows weakness and coaxes him a little, it'll be fine. Thinking of this, Lu Weiwei instantly felt more confident. She immediately burst into tears, looking utterly pitiful and wronged. "Luca, didn't we agree that once Tessashia gives birth, we would tell her the truth and send her away? I know it was wrong of me to act on my own, but I love you so much. I just wanted to be with you openly sooner. She would have found out eventually anyway. I just told her a little earlier." She tried to kiss Luca G, leaning in as she had done before. Men, no matter how angry they are, always cool off once they get into bed. Luca G avoided her kiss, his expression devoid of any warmth. "You actually believe what a man says in bed, except for Tessashia. I don't care about anything, children, marriage certificates, none of it. If you knew what was good for you, I'd give you what you want, but clearly, you're not that obedient. Speak." He glared fiercely at Lu Weiwei. "What did you say to Tessa? If you dare let a single word slip, you know what I'm capable of." Lu Weiwei was truly terrified this time. Her tears fell in large drops, hitting the ground. I'm sorry, I won't dare do it again. Please forgive me." "Okay, I'll go find Tessashia. I'll apologize to her." "Luca, please don't be like this, I'm scared." Luca G completely lost his patience. He reached out and snatched her bag, taking out her phone. Lu Weiwei didn't have time to stop him before Luca G opened the WeChat page. On the homepage, the chat log with Tessashia clearly recorded the provocations Lu Weiwei had directed at Tessashia over the past week. Lu Weiwei's face turned pale with fear as she shrank back. Luca G's face grew even more ashen, and the more he looked, the more despair he felt. Each photo and every word that cut to the heart, just imagining things from Tessa's perspective made him feel suffocated. No wonder Tessashia had been so resolute in cutting all ties with him. If it were him, he might have acted even more decisively than Tessashia. Luca G felt as if his internal organs were being scorched, his hand almost unable to grip the phone. After a long time, so long that Lu Weiwei's fear had reached its peak, Luca G finally stood up. He looked down at Lu Weiwei as if she were already dead. "Since you dared to do it, you should be prepared to pay the price." Luca G slowly approached Lu Weiwei step by step, his face as dark as a messenger from hell. Lu Weiwei was trembling all over, frantically thinking of ways to protect herself. "You can't touch me." Lu Weiwei shouted these words with almost all her strength. Luca G stopped in his tracks upon hearing this. Seeing that he was moved, Lu Weiwei continued, "If something happens to me, the child will have no biological mother. Luca, I can disappear, but the child cannot be without a mother. Now that Tessashia knows the child isn't hers, how could she willingly love him, no matter what? This is your child, please think about him, Okay, she looked at Luca G with hopeful eyes, trying to use the child to awaken his reason, but it was better if Lu Weiwei didn't bring it up. The moment she mentioned it, Luca G instantly transformed into an enraged lion. He strode over to Lu Weiwei in a few steps, grabbed her neck with one hand, lifted her up, and pinned her against the wall. The child, you still have the nerve to talk about the child. Lu Weiwei could barely breathe. She struggled, but it was useless. Thanks to you, the child is gone. After saying this, Luca G tightened his grip on her neck even more, wishing he could strangle her right then and there, thinking that maybe then Tessa would come back. The feeling of suffocation made Lu Weiwei's consciousness seem to sink into a chaotic fog. Gone? How could it be gone? If the child is gone, what should she do? Luca G is wealthy and powerful. He appears noble and virtuous on the surface, but in reality, he doesn't care about laws or morals at all. He only pretends in front of Tessa Xia, acting like a gentle, polite, and humble gentleman. How can she save herself? The villa was situated halfway up the mountain. Even if she screamed her lungs out, no one would hear her. Her phone had been snatched away by Luca G, leaving her unable to even call the police. Lu Weiwei was on the verge of despair. Just then, Luca G's phone rang. He glanced at it, then abruptly shoved her aside and rushed out of the villa without looking back. A few seconds later, a black Maybach roared away. The feeling of suffocation faded, and Lu Weiwei gasped for air like a drowning person resurfacing, trying to calm the shock and fear after the ordeal. Luca G seemed to have received some news and left in a hurry without bothering to lecture her, but she was certain that the news must have been related to Tessa Xia. While her heart grew cold, Lu Weiwei also felt a sense of disdain. If Luca G truly loved Tessa Xia, how could he have been entangled with her for 3 years and even let Tessa Xia bear a child for her? Now that Tessa Xia has run away and abandoned him, he's only pretending to be sentimental. Even going so far as to pin all the blame on Lu Weiwei, it's simply ridiculous. But no matter what, Luca G won't let her off easily. Lu Weiwei thought of the only way to protect herself. She picked up the phone from the ground, opened Weibo, pulled up the marriage certificate photo and a few pictures of her and Luca G, arranged them into a 9-square grid, and posted them. Caption: I thought that by compromising and yielding, I could obtain true love. But the grass is always greener on the other side. Stolen goods are always the sweetest. As soon as the Weibo post was published, it quickly surged to the top of the trending searches. Netizens were utterly shocked. Luca G is both a member of a wealthy family and a public figure, making him a natural focus of media attention. 3 years ago, the wedding of Luca G and Tessa Xia caused a sensation throughout the city, and everyone knew about it. They never expected that Luca G actually had a legal wife all along, and what's more, the legal wife silently endured all of this. Are mistresses this brazen nowadays? Mr. G's move is truly eye-opening. One is holding the empty title of Mrs. G, while the other is clinging to the marriage certificate, waiting foolishly. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Poor first wife. If I remember correctly, she was still Mr. G's secretary, right? How tragic. Netizens are cursing Tessa Xia and Luca G. Seeing that her goal was achieved, Lu Weiwei proceeded to edit and post several more Weibo posts. I never wanted to tear off this veil of shame. After all, my husband had an affair, and his true love is openly flaunting the title of the rightful wife. No matter how you look at it, it's a disgraceful matter. But I really have no other choice. Miss Xia is pregnant. She's threatening my husband with an abortion to force him to divorce me. And my husband wants to pay me off with 5 million to make way for her. She shared a screenshot of a WeChat message Luca G had previously sent her. I'll give you 5 million. Just don't show up in front of me and Tessa again. With evidence in the form of screenshots, netizens were more inclined to believe her. She then posted an update. The G family is wealthy and powerful. I'm very scared right now, and I had no choice but to reveal the truth. If anything happens to me, please don't believe it was suicide. Make sure to help me uncover the truth. She left her address and contact information. After doing all this, Lu Weiwei took a taxi home. Concerned netizens reported the incident to the police on her behalf, and some who lived nearby even went to Lu Weiwei's home, vowing to protect her. Lu Weiwei hadn't even made it home when she was intercepted by Luca G's men, looking at the man beside her, who was radiating a murderous aura. She immediately knelt and begged for mercy. "Luca, please spare me. As long as you let me go, I'll do anything you ask." Luca G turned his back to her, as if even looking at her was a nuisance. He had just received a message saying someone had seen Tessa Shia on Nanan Street. He immediately had someone try to stop her, then sped off to the destination, but just by seeing a glimpse of her back, he knew it wasn't her, his Tessa. Every smile, every frown, every expression of joy or anger was deeply etched in his heart. Even if she turned to ashes, he would never mistake her for someone else. Just as he was feeling disappointed, his assistant told him that Tessa Shia was being cyberbullied, and the internet was now flooded with condemnations calling her a homewrecker. He took the assistant's Weibo page and browsed through it, his anger erupting like a volcano. In just this short while, Lu Weiwei had already smeared his Tessa online. She simply doesn't know when to quit. She's tired of living. He used his means to locate Lu Weiwei's position and decisively intercepted her on the street. "I warned you." Luca G was very calm, not gritting his teeth or showing anger, as if he were saying, "The weather is really nice today," yet Lu Weiwei could clearly sense the killing intent in his tone. Sure enough, several bodyguards expressionlessly lifted her up as if handling a corpse. What are you going to do?" Lu Weiwei trembled uncontrollably, beginning to regret why she had ever provoked Tessa Shia. "Without Tessa Shia, Luca G is a madman. I can't have anything happen to me. I posted on Weibo, if something happens to me, you'll definitely get into a lot of trouble too. Even the G family could be affected." Lu Weiwei struggled and shouted. "Also, everyone online is criticizing Tessa Shia right now. If I don't step forward to clarify, she's finished." Luca G slowly turned around and signaled to the bodyguard with his eyes. The bodyguard understood and let go, and Lu Weiwei fell to the ground. Her heart leaped with joy. She was saved. She put on what she thought was her most charming smile. "Luca, I still love you very much. I promise, from now on, I'll keep my distance from Tessa and never provoke Tessa Shia again. I'll even help you clarify things." Suddenly and unexpectedly, Lu Weiwei was kicked over by Luca G. He ground the tip of his shoe into her fingers, causing her to scream in pain. "What do you think you are? How dare you threaten me?" Luca G looked at her expressionlessly as she lay on the ground like a pile of mud. He then immediately registered a Weibo account, verified it with a blue V, and posted his first Weibo message. "I am Luca G. My secretary, Lu Weiwei, held a grudge due to work-related conflicts and spread rumors that my wife, Tessa Shia, is a mistress, severely damaging my wife's personal reputation and the reputation of the G Group. I will pursue legal action." At G Group Legal Director, the legal director immediately forwarded, "If there are any individuals spreading rumors, the G family will pursue legal action to the fullest extent." As soon as the two Weibo posts were published, the online sentiment shifted instantly. Media outlets that had reported on the matter received legal letters from the G family one after another. Without hesitation, they immediately deleted the related information, making a complete 180-degree turn in their stance, and began searching for various pieces of evidence to prove that the allegations about Tessa Shia being a mistress were baseless. Self-media accounts that had jumped on the bandwagon to gain attention either deleted their accounts or, if they were too slow to do so, were permanently banned. Netizens quickly realized they had been fooled when they saw this situation. "I'm completely baffled by this drama. Lu Weiwei should see a psychologist. Spreading rumors to this extent is just abnormal. How despicable, claiming her life was threatened, but it was just revenge for job dissatisfaction. Unbelievable. I was so outraged, and it turns out it was all a rumor. I feel like punching someone." A crowd rushed to Luca G's Weibo to apologize. "Sorry, Mrs. G. Sorry +1. Sorry plus 10,086. The group waiting outside Lu Weiwei's door, claiming to protect her, became furious upon seeing the situation online. "Bitch, how dare she use us?" They used baseball bats and other tools they had brought to hit Lu Weiwei's door, while others spat on the doorknob and wrote abusive words on the wall. Moreover, A large number of extreme netizens frantically called to curse Lu Weiwei, and her inbox was filled with all kinds of unspeakable messages. And at this moment, in front of Lu Weiwei, several staff members dressed in Civil Affairs Bureau uniforms stood solemnly. Luca G said coldly, "If you know what's good for you, hurry up and get the divorce done." Lu Weiwei collapsed on the ground without any regard for her image, curling herself tightly into a ball, refusing to cooperate with the divorce no matter what. This was her last hope. As long as she doesn't divorce, there's still a chance for her to survive. Clearly, Luca G won't give her that opportunity. He has made many mistakes, causing Tessa to be utterly disappointed in him and even leave him resolutely. If he wants to reconcile with Tessa Shea, then he must get divorced. Luca G didn't even blink as he ordered the bodyguards to grab her hand and forcibly press her fingerprint. Lu Weiwei struggled with all her might, but it was in vain. She was no match for Luca G's strength, let alone two battle-hardened bodyguards, as her fingertip touched the ink pad and pressed onto the application form. She closed her eyes in despair, tears streamed from the corners of her eyes, falling silently to the ground. She's finished. The marriage certificate was destroyed on the spot. In its place were two maroon divorce certificates, which Luca G also destroyed on the spot. As the flames consumed the divorce certificates, Luca G tugged at the corner of his lips but couldn't manage a smile. If he had taken this step earlier, would Tessa not have left him? Unfortunately, there are no what ifs. His Tessa unilaterally cut ties with him and went into hiding. To this day, he has found no trace of her. He also dares not search for Tessa Shea through the media, as that would only make her flee further. If only I had been with Tessa on our anniversary, she wouldn't have been able to go through with the surgery right under my nose. If only I could have controlled myself and not been tempted by Lu Weiwei. If only I hadn't funded Lu Weiwei, or if I hadn't hired her in the first place. Luca G sat on the beach, with 7 or 8 scattered empty wine bottles at his feet. He drank bottle after bottle, and the stomach ailment that hadn't bothered him for a long time began to resurface with a dull ache. This had been his state for the past few days. He was afraid to sleep, because as soon as he did, his mind would be filled with images of Tessa Shea leaving him resolutely. Only when he was awake, looking at her photo, did he feel slightly more at ease. He really wanted to get drunk, thinking that perhaps in drunkenness, he could rest for a brief moment. But the more he drank, the more sober he became. He was soberly aware that he had lost her. "Tessa, I'm sorry, I drank again," he murmured. "You spent 3 years helping me recover, finally getting my stomach in good shape. The moment you weren't by my side, my stomach problems came back. Look, I really can't live without you. Please come back, okay? I promise I'll be good and listen to you. I'll do whatever you say." Luca G passed out, clutching his abdomen, and was taken to the hospital by a passerby. Mrs. G rushed over as soon as she got the news. The moment Luca G woke up, she scolded him harshly, completely losing her usual elegant and dignified demeanor. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" She opened a news page and showed it to him. Headlines were flooded with reports about the president of G Corporation being hospitalized due to drunkenness, causing the company's stock price to plummet. "I never agreed to you marrying that down-and-out Tessa Shea in the first place, but you insisted. Fine, I compromised, and now you've actually gone and registered your marriage with a scholarship student. You even had Tessa Shea carry a child for her. You're absolutely outrageous." Mrs. G was so furious she nearly fainted. If Tessa Shea hadn't suddenly disappeared and Luca G hadn't been acting so strangely, she would never have imagined things could turn out like this. And what's more, Mrs. G pulled out 2 contracts and threw them at Luca G, buying products from the Cheng and Lin families at 100% above market price. "Are you out of your mind, or am I?" Luca G was taken aback. He picked up the document and, upon reading it, froze instantly. These 2 agreements were the compensation he had offered to Tessa Shea's close friend, but he distinctly remembered it being a 10% increase. How could it have turned into 100%? Luca G recalled the entire process of signing the document. This document was presented to him for signature by Lu Weiwei while he was on a business trip. At that time, Lu Weiwei was teasing him while sitting on him and also making him sign, so he didn't look carefully. He thought it over and suddenly came up with a possibility. He dialed Tessa Xia's best friend's phone. "Did you also have a hand in Lu Weiwei forcing Tessa to leave?" There was a moment of silence on the other end. Luca G didn't give them a chance to speak, hung up directly, and then called his assistant with a cold expression. "Terminate contracts with the Cheng and Lin families, and notify all upstream and downstream businesses. Those who wish to cooperate with the G family are not permitted to have any dealings with the Cheng and Lin families." The assistant was stunned for a moment but said nothing and carried out the order as instructed. "Madman, the G family will be ruined by you sooner or later." Mrs. G could hardly believe her ears. She originally just wanted to figure out if Luca G had fallen into someone else's trap, but now it seems he's not only trapped, he's completely beyond saving. She stormed off in a rage. The G Group's official Weibo announced the termination of collaborations with the Cheng and Lin companies, causing the stock prices of all three to plummet simultaneously. The commercial tug-of-war had officially begun. After the Cheng and Lin families clarified the sequence of events, they unhesitatingly expelled the instigator from their clans. Meanwhile, Lu Weiwei, who had been fired by the G family and evicted from Luca G's house, wandered the streets in a daze. Passers-by pointed at her with disdainful looks, and some even threw banana peels at her. She tried to confront them, but she was outnumbered and outmatched, unable to win an argument, let alone a physical fight. She could only avoid the crowds, like a rat scurrying across the street. Suddenly, she pinched her own thigh hard. What did she see? She saw Tessa Xia. Tessa Xia hasn't left. But Luca G clearly can't find Tessa Xia anywhere in the world. "Heh," Lu Weiwei sneered with a mocking laugh. "Luca G, you've searched the whole world, but the person you're looking for is right under your nose." She wanted to pretend she hadn't seen it. She hated Luca G and Tessa Xia. Now she has ended up like this, all thanks to them. Tessa Xia and Luca G never speaking to each other again is exactly what she is happy to see. Tessa Xia got into a car, and she inexplicably hailed a taxi and followed. When they arrived at the airport, Tessa Xia got out of the car, and a handsome man waiting by the roadside stepped forward to take her suitcase. The two of them chatted and laughed as they entered the airport. Lu Weiwei was overjoyed Tessa Xia had another man. Does she still have a chance to return to Luca G's side? She opened her phone, and countless abusive messages and missed calls flooded in. Forcing herself to ignore these, she called Luca G. As soon as the call connected, Luca G's icy words came through. "If you don't want to die, don't mess with me." The phone was hung up, and the beeping sound came through. Unwilling to give up, she sent a WeChat message to Luca G. "Luca, if Tessa Xia is with someone else, can we start over?" What replied to her was a red exclamation mark. Luca G had blocked her. Lu Weiwei trembled with anger. Since Luca G was so heartless, he shouldn't blame her for what came next. She went to a mobile phone store, bought a new SIM card, and used the new number to send a message to Luca G. 50 million, transferred to this account as a gift, and I'll tell you Tessa Xia's whereabouts. After receiving the text message, Luca G caused an uproar in the hospital. Ignoring the fact that he had just undergone stomach surgery, he ripped off the 4 drip and tried to break free from the doctor's attempts to stop him from going to find Tessa Xia. Since Tessa Xia left, there hasn't been a single moment when he hasn't thought of her. Even if he had confirmed that Tessa Xia had an abortion, even if he clearly understood that Tessa Xia no longer wanted him, he still couldn't let go. To numb himself, he turned to heavy drinking, to the point of landing himself in the hospital. It wasn't until he received this text message about Tessa Xia's whereabouts that his nearly shattered heart finally began to beat again. He almost immediately called back the unknown number. "Lu Weiwei, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Right now, immediately. Tell me Tessa Xia's news." He knew it was Lu Weiwei on the other end, but he didn't care, as long as he could find Tessa Xia. He was willing to swallow his pride and beg anyone, no matter who it was. Almost at the same time, he had the finance department transfer 50 million to the account specified by Lu Weiwei. 5 seconds later, he received an address. An overwhelming joy surged through his chest. He had found her. He was going to find her. He wants to apologize to her and tell her that she is the only one he loves. He wants to go with her to get their marriage certificate. and then have 2 children of their own. No. He will respect Tessa's wishes. If she wants to have children, they will. If she doesn't, he is also fine with being child-free. But the doctors and nurses coldly stopped him, and no matter how much he argued or threatened, they did not let him leave. At that moment, Mother G returned. Seeing this situation, she felt like grabbing a whip and giving Luca G a good thrashing. She slapped him hard across the face. How much longer are you going to keep acting like this? Do you think Tessa Shea left and had the abortion out of cruelty? Think about what you did. I can't even face her. If she was truly willing to forgive you, how could she have ended things so decisively without even giving you a chance to explain? Luca G, how dare you go looking for her? Mrs. G was so angry her chest heaved. Although she didn't like Tessa Shea, as a woman herself, she couldn't help but empathize with Tessa Shea after learning what Luca G had done to her. She never expected that her son, who had been pampered and admired since childhood, could be so spoiled and willful to this extent. He went to great lengths to marry Tessa Shea but didn't cherish her, and the company that generations had painstakingly built was handed over to him, only to be treated like a game. Luca G had just undergone surgery and was already weak. With all this commotion, he had no strength to resist. He fell to the ground, his face deathly pale. Covering his face as he wept silently, the doctors and nurses exchanged glances, all choosing not to intervene for the time being, and G's mother no longer tried to control him, letting him sink into despondency and despair. The empty room was now left with only him. Luca G finally couldn't hold back his sobs. Tessa, tears seeped through his fingers, dampening his clothes. Suddenly, he remembered 3 years ago, the first time he had a stomach attack in front of Tessa Shea. Tessa Shea held him and cried for 3 hours, and later, to care for his stomach, she went out of her way to learn cooking, often burning her hands in the process. Back then, he had also secretly made a resolution to cut off all the messy relationships outside and devote himself wholeheartedly to his Tessa. But in the end, he failed to do so. For a moment of fleeting pleasure, he betrayed Tessa Shea, and in his desperation to win her back, he even wished he could kill Lu Weiwei. The former no longer loved him, and the latter clung to him only for his money. There is no one in this world who loves him as purely as Tessa Shea. He screenshot Lu Weiwei's text message asking for money and sent it to his assistant. File a report for extortion. Don't let her appear in front of me again. After sending the message, he lay on the cold marble floor, weeping helplessly. Luca G's affair was eventually exposed. He was hospitalized due to alcoholism and caught by the media. Everyone speculated about the reasons for his alcoholism, and the meticulous media uncovered part of the truth through various clues. But no media outlet dared to report it extensively. Only a small, nearly bankrupt media outlet, determined to fight for survival, published a short article. Half an hour later, G Group President's divorce scandal and mistress forces out legal wife, ends up in jail trended on social media. The netizens were instantly outraged. Oh my God, I was so moved by the love story of the summer couple before, but I never expected it to be a bad ending. I don't believe in love anymore. Seriously, are all rich men bad? He clearly loved her so much before, but it turns out he was deceiving her all along. What kind of mindset is that? Don't generalize. Folks, I'm a man, unmarried, and I consider myself wealthy, but I'm absolutely loyal. Being the other woman is also risky, not only lacking a proper status but also possibly ending up in jail. As soon as the news broke, countless people exclaimed that they no longer believed in love, and even elevated Luca G's personal conduct to an issue of credibility for the G Group. The G Group stock, which had just stabilized through a shareholder buyback, plummeted once again. The Cheng and Lin families, who had been backed into a corner by the G Group, seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire, and various intimate and inappropriate photos of Luca G and Lu Weiwei were exposed. Tessa Shea's 2 fake best friends publicly exposed that Luca G cheated and schemed to have Tessa Shea carry a child for his mistress. The shock value is no less than a volcanic eruption. Luca G was cyberbullied. The Weibo account he originally opened to suppress Lu Weiwei was flooded with a large number of keyboard warriors, and netizens furiously cursed him under the only post he ever made. Even Lu Weiwei, who was in prison, was approached by the media. She seized the opportunity to shift all the blame onto Luca G, claiming that she had been coerced by him. Related search terms saw a rapid surge in popularity, witnessing the public's enthusiasm for high society gossip. Larger media outlets could no longer resist the urge to get a piece of the action. They attempted to interview Luca G himself through various channels, expecting him to decline. To their surprise, Luca G agreed. "I admit, I did something wrong." At the beginning of the live interview, Luca G publicly apologized. His face was sickly pale, and his mental state didn't seem very good, speaking weakly and listlessly. The reporter's eyes lit up. "Mr. G, are you saying that the rumors circulating online about your affair are all true?" Luca G didn't hesitate at all. "Most of it is true." The reporter then pressed further. "Then what part is false?" He suddenly stood up and bowed 90 degrees to the camera. "Tessa, I'm sorry. I let you down. I'm a jerk. The netizens are right to criticize me. But there's one thing, they say I never loved you. And that's wrong. I have loved only you, from beginning to end." Comments in the live stream were scrolling frantically. What a hypocrite pretending to be devoted. Where was this earlier? Does loving someone mean hurting them so badly? Is your love a mountain of knives and a sea of fire? How disgusting. If it weren't for the screen between us, I could slap him to death. Cheap love. Belated affection is worse than a dog's. I really feel sorry for Tessa Shia, seeing the livestream's popularity gradually rise. The reporter's lips curled into a smile that she couldn't suppress. She asked a few more detailed questions that the audience was concerned about, but Luca G remained silent and did not respond. The reporter really wanted to ask him, "What about the marriage certificate that Lu Weiwei posted earlier? Is it true?" She learned from the grapevine that Luca G is single, which means what Lu Weiwei said isn't true, but it also suggests that Luca G and Tessa Shia haven't gotten married either. The reporter's intuition tells her there's a lot more to this story. If she could get even a hint of a response, her performance for the year would be secured, but before she could speak, she was silenced by a cold glare from Luca G. Not daring to offend the G family after all, the reporter finally asked, "Is there anything else you'd like to say, Mr. G?" Luca G stood up again and bowed deeply to the camera. "I can't find my wife. If anyone has any clues, please provide them to me. A reward of 1 million will be offered for any useful clue, no matter how small." Amid the doubts and ridicule, a large number of netizens began to provide clues, causing quite a stir. So much so that as soon as I got off the plane, someone pulled me aside to ask, "Are you Tessa Shia, the wife of Luca G?" 1 million. "Miss Shia, thank you for helping me earn 1 million. Where is Miss Shia heading next? I just called a car. Would you like to come along? I can join too." I frowned in confusion until my companion, Sikhenyu, opened Weibo and showed me the trending topics, and I finally learned about Luca G's outrageous actions. Touched, Sikhenyu asked quietly. "I feel like throwing up," I said flatly. "If you knew it would come to this, why did you act that way in the first place? I aborted an 8-month-old child and cut off everything related to him. Isn't that clear enough? Or are all men just shameless? Is the grass always greener on the other side? Is what you can't have always the best?" Looking at the group of people surrounding me taking photos, I raised an eyebrow. "Saichenyu, want to make a fortune, of course." He leaned in closer. "Tell me, God of wealth, how do we do it?" I pulled him away from the crowd. "I just want to cut ties with Luca G. But I don't plan to hide my whereabouts. Here's the deal. You provide him with 10 pieces of information about me every day, and we'll split the bonus 70 to 30, with me taking 70 and you 30. Sikhenyu lost his earlier excitement. "You want to see him?" I cleared my throat lightly. "I just want to make money." After the Shia family went bankrupt, I appeared to be Mrs. G on the surface, but I never gave up on the idea of making a comeback. At that time, I loved Luca G very much, but he only wanted me to be a full-time housewife, so I secretly started a company behind his back. It's been 3 years, and by leveraging the connections from the Shia family, the company has now become one of the top 100 enterprises in the country. Saichenyu is my business partner and the nominal controller of the company. We invested in a project in Tibet, And this trip to Tibet is also for the purpose of inspecting the project. Sai Chenyu used to be a workaholic labeled as a rich second-generation heir, but ever since I had the induced abortion, he has been pursuing me both openly and discreetly. During these 10 days, I rejected him no less than 100 times. But he remained undeterred. It wasn't until I threatened to part ways with him that he finally backed off, seeing that I didn't seem to have any lingering feelings for Luca G. Sikenyu got excited again. Let's get him. But I really can't stand him. My goddess is so wonderful. Yet he treated her so poorly. I really want to finish him off. I waved my hand. No need. We're just even now. Sikenyu was unwilling to let it go. What do you mean, even? The way he treated you. How could it ever be even? I gave him a sidelong glance, and only then did he hesitantly fall silent. In truth, I knew that Sikenyu had taken action against the G family during these 10 days, though not on a large scale. Even so, it caused the G family's stock price to plummet and led to the loss of many clients. I think, since I have to let go, then along with love, I must also let go of the hatred. When the Xia family went bankrupt, he helped me. Now, he hurts me. From now on, he and I will go our separate ways. As clear as the boundary between the Jing and Wei rivers, over the next 2 days, Luca G kept receiving information about me, with almost every photo capturing the road signs. His hands trembled with excitement. It's Tessa. Is Tessa no longer hiding from me? She wants to see me. Luca G immediately checked out of the hospital, rushed from the hospital to the airport, and boarded the earliest flight to Tibet. All the way, he was both anxious and joyful, telling himself over and over that Tessa would forgive him. After getting off the plane, he took a detour by taxi to buy a bouquet of red roses, checked his attire, and rang the doorbell of my villa in Tibet. The doorbell rang for half an hour. Luca G grew increasingly nervous. His still recovering stomach began to ache faintly, and cold sweat seeped from his back. He began to panic and reached out to push the door. The door opened from the inside, and he nearly stumbled, barely steadying himself before saying to the security guard who opened the door, I'm looking for my wife, Tessa Xia." The security guard coldly replied, "There's no one here who is your wife." He made way with a gap. "Go in. President Xia is waiting for you." Luca G really wanted to give the security guard a piece of his mind. Who did that guy think he was, daring to speak to him like that? But Tessa was inside the villa, and he didn't want to waste any time seeing her, not a single second. He straightened his collar and walked in, holding the bouquet of red roses. "Oh, darling, you're still weak, don't get up. Just tell me what you need, and I'll take care of it." The moment Luca G stepped over the threshold, Sikenyu exclaimed dramatically, his syrupy voice sending shivers down one's spine. Luca G's face instantly turned cold, and the red roses he was holding fell to the ground. "Who is he?" He pointed at Sikenyu, but his words were directed at me. Before I could speak, Sikenyu pulled me into an embrace and declared first, "Isn't it obvious? I'm her dear boyfriend, and soon to be her dear husband." I rolled my eyes at him. How childish. Then, before Luca G could go crazy, I spoke up, "Just a friend." Although I didn't want to have anything to do with Luca G, I also didn't want to get emotionally entangled with Sai Chenyu, and to draw a clear line with Luca G, I didn't need to use Sai Chenyu as an excuse. "I knew you would come to find me." I took a sip of warm brown sugar water. My body was extremely weak after the induced abortion, and brown sugar water was the most cost-effective food to replenish my energy. Luca G became agitated. "Tessa, I interrupted him. "Just because I don't hide my whereabouts doesn't mean I'll go back to my old ways. Luca G, it's over between us. Whether as husband and wife, lovers, or even ordinary friends, we can no longer be any of those." The light in his eyes dimmed inch by inch, and his lips began to tremble. "Why, Tessa, didn't you ever love me? I know I was wrong. Can't you give me a chance?" He suddenly knelt down, raising 2 fingers together. "I swear, if I ever betray you again, may I die a miserable death." I finished the remaining brown sugar water in one gulp and glanced at him. "Whether you live or die, it has nothing to do with me from now on." Luca G closed his eyes in pain, having considered many possibilities. For instance, Tessa Xia might refuse to see him, or she might meet him only to scold him harshly, or perhaps she would cry and say she hated him. But he had never imagined that his Tessa would be so calm, so composed, as if he were someone entirely insignificant. His heart tightened again. In a low, unwilling voice, he asked, "Then what about him? Didn't you say he was just a friend? Then why did you move into his place?" He subconsciously assumed that this villa belonged to Sikenyu. Indeed, in Luca G's eyes, perhaps I am just a dodder flower clinging to him. That's why he dares to betray me, deceive me, and even set me up. Because he is certain that I cannot live without him. But he was wrong. I was never a flower in a greenhouse. I am grateful that he gave me a hand during my most difficult times, so I was willing to sacrifice for him. But I would never leave myself with no way out, letting him manipulate me at will. Sikenyu looked at him with amusement. "You say this villa is mine," seeing the expression on Luca G's face that seemed to say, "Isn't it?" Sikenyu laughed. "Luca G, oh Luca G, you really are a complete failure. This villa belongs to Tessa. Not only that, but the company Tessa actually controls has already gone public. You've been her partner for 3 years, and you didn't even know that." Luca G stared at me in shock, his eyes wide. "Tessa, what did he say?" I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on. "Sikenyu, you really know how to cause trouble for me. Whether it's true or not, it has nothing to do with you anymore. I want to emphasize again, Luca G. I don't want to bring up the past anymore. You know very well who was right and who was wrong. If you have even a shred of conscience left, please stop pestering me." Luca G's intention to question her vanished instantly. He forced a smile and said, "That's not what I meant. You have your own career, and I'm proud of you. Tessa, it's okay if you reject me. We can start over. May I pursue you?" He picked up the red rose from the ground, knelt on one knee, his eyes filled with anticipation and nervousness. "Before we got together, Luca G pursued me for 7 years. No matter how many times I rejected him, he never gave up. It wasn't until the Shia family went bankrupt and he stood by my side without hesitation that I fell in love with him. I used to be moved by his unwavering persistence, but now, I just find it annoying. Can't you take a hint?" My words came out icy, devoid of any emotion. "If you don't leave now, I'll have someone escort you out." He visibly deflated, wanting to vent but not knowing where to begin. After all, everything that has happened today is because of him. "All right, I'll give you time." He slowly stood up, his eyes resolute. "But Tessa, I won't give up over my dead body." With that, he turned and left. The footsteps were slow at first, as if waiting to be held back, then they quickened, as if fleeing. Luca G found a bar, ordered the strongest drink, and downed one glass after another. A seductive beauty in the bar, noticing his extraordinary aura, boldly pressed her alluring curves against his back. "Handsome, drinking alone, aren't you lonely?" Suddenly, an unfamiliar perfume filled the air. Luca G pushed her away in disgust. "Get lost." The beauty was shoved to the ground with such force that tears nearly welled up in her eyes from the pain. "Are you insane? What's with the act of being all high and mighty in a bar? I've seen plenty of men like you. Thinking you can mess around just because you have a bit of money, looking like this now. I bet the woman you love found out and dumped you. Didn't she?" Hit where it hurt. Luca G's veins bulged on his forehead. He slammed the table angrily and snapped, "If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll kill you." Frightened by his outburst, the beauty spat in disgust and turned to leave. What rotten luck, running into someone who escaped from a mental hospital, with all this commotion. The various beauties who had been watching from the sidelines gave up any thoughts of striking up a conversation. Luca G continued to drink quietly by himself, muttering, "Tessa, I didn't let anyone touch me, I'm not dirty." Before falling asleep, I received a call from the police station. "Miss Shia, is Luca G your husband? He got drunk and caused a scene at the bar. Could you please come and take him away?" I refused. "Sorry, I don't know him." The police seemed surprised, paused for a moment, and then said, "We found your wedding photo in his wallet. We've already brought him to your doorstep. Could you please open the door?" I resigned myself to opening the door. After all, no matter what, I couldn't delay the police officer's time. Luca G was dead drunk, almost completely unable to stand straight. As soon as the villa door opened, he staggered in, took a few steps, and collapsed by the flower bed. After seeing the police off, I walked straight past him. After taking 2 steps, my pupils dilated in disbelief. I turned around, crouched down, and carefully listened to Luca G's drunken words. To get you, I spent 5 years bankrupting the Shia family. I put so much effort into this, how could I possibly give up on you? Tessa, I could never give up on you. The bankruptcy of the Shia family was actually caused by Luca G. The hairs all over my body stood on end, as if I had just heard a terrifying story. So, I actually fell in love with my enemy and was even hurt by them again. Luca G, how dare you? I gritted my teeth and slapped him with all my strength. Luca G cried out in pain, covering his face and continuing to mutter to himself, I wish I could kill him. But wouldn't killing him be letting him off too easily? My postpartum body was too weak. After angrily kicking him a few times, I was completely exhausted. I slumped to the ground, tears falling in large drops onto the floor. What's wrong? Did he bully you? Sikhenyu ran out in his pajamas. Looking flustered, he scooped me up in his arms. Don't cry, tell me, I'm here for everything. If you want him to disappear, I guarantee he won't see tomorrow's sun. The current posture is somewhat ambiguous, but I truly have no strength left. I lean against Sai Chinyo's shoulder. Murder is against the law. It's not worth sacrificing yourself. Sai Chinyo's arms holding me are strong and powerful. Yet his voice is so gentle it's almost cloying. For you, I'm willing. I'm not willing, I murmur softly. Sai Chinyo, I know you truly like me. He was taken aback, his heart beating faster in his chest. Tessa, before he could finish, I spoke resolutely. If you want to be my boyfriend, then perhaps we can't even be friends. To be fair, Sai Chenyu is a good partner, loyal, smart, and well-connected, but I don't want to invest any more effort in a relationship, after all. The only time it fell was built upon the ruin of my family. It's just too painful. Next, I will use all my power to target the G family. Until death do us part. If you're worried it might affect you, I will buy out your shares at market value. No, Sikhenyu interrupted me. Tessa, I won't leave the company. Whatever you want to do, I'll support you. He gently laid me on the bed and covered me with the blanket. Rest well, you're still weak now. We can talk about everything tomorrow after you wake up. I silently closed my eyes. My mind was filled with the scene of my father jumping from the top of the Shia Corporation building in despair when the Shia family went bankrupt. The scene flashed by, followed by the image of Luca G kneeling to propose to me, his smile gentle and tender, but as he continued to smile, his expression gradually turned sinister, eventually transforming into the face of a demon. I woke up screaming. The sky was just beginning to lighten. I got up, drew the curtains, and looked down. Luca G still lay on the ground, curled up in a ball, his face covered in bruises, a trail of dried blood clinging to the corner of his lips. A surge of intense hatred welled up inside me. I want him to suffer, to agonize, to endure unbearable pain, a living hell. I sought out a renowned private investigator. I need evidence that Luca G has been setting up the Shia family since 8 years ago. After hanging up the phone, I opened Weibo and quickly browsed through the recent trending topics. The internet was flooded with posts about Luca G offering a reward to find his wife. After some thought, I registered a new account and started a live stream, posing as a victim. I fully exposed everything Luca G had done to me. He has found me again now, and every time I see him, I can't help but think about how he betrayed me and how he schemed to have me bear a child for his mistress. I cried and played the victim in front of the camera. In an instant, netizens who had initially sympathized and tried to find excuses for Luca G turned against him. With online criticism overwhelmingly targeting him, Luca G's image hit rock bottom. The stock price of G Corporation continued to plummet. I took the opportunity to buy in batches at low prices. Senior executives of the G family jointly wrote a letter to Mrs. G, demanding a change in the chairman. And a large number of excellent employees also resigned. Luca G was busy dealing with these matters every day, overwhelmed and stressed. But this was just the appetizer, far from enough. I will make Luca G taste the bitterness of the 18th level of hell. Luca G was summoned back to Baisha by countless phone calls. The night before he left, He stood outside my villa all night, and the drizzling rain lasted the entire night. Tessa, I know you hate me, you resent me. I don't blame you for everything you've done. I'm going back to the northern city. Wait for me. Let me handle all of this. Then give me another chance. He repented all night, his voice already hoarse, and I slept soundly all night, my heart completely unmoved. As dawn approached, he got into the car in a sorry state and rushed to the airport. Boarding a flight back to the northern city, G Family Extraordinary General Meeting, Luca G was besieged by several elderly directors with half-grey hair. Xiao Ji, I've watched you grow up and treated you like my own son, but look at you, just look at what you've done. The company is a company, not a place for you to play house. If you can't handle it, step down as soon as possible, I told you. A wet behind-the-ears kid only knows about love and romance. How could they possibly run a company well? But old G just wouldn't listen. Now look what's happened. As everyone chimed in with their opinions, Luca G's expression grew increasingly grim. Slap. He slammed the table. None of you have the right to speak here. Trying to oust me. You must have forgotten that a resolution of the shareholders' meeting requires approval by more than 2/3 of the votes of those present to take effect. Combined, the shares you all hold amount to only 30%, while I alone hold 40%. If you want to oust me, unless you rally all the retail investors, it's nothing but a pipe dream. Everyone present exchanged glances, their expressions grim. Luca G sneered, since you don't have the ability, let's end this shareholders meeting here. I pushed open the conference room door. Who said we don't have the ability? I held up the equity transfer agreement in my hand. This is the transfer document for 40% of G Corporation's shares, plus the 20% of shares acquired from retail investors. That makes a total of 60% equity. Now, I am the largest shareholder and the actual controller of the G family. Luca G went from shock to anger. Tessa, what are you saying? Stop joking around. This isn't the time for your tantrums. Without even looking at him, I just tossed the equity transfer agreement onto the table. Luca G and several directors scrambled to pick up the agreement, examining it carefully. A few minutes later, Luca G's face turned deathly pale. Tessa, is this the equity transfer agreement I gave you when we got married? Seeing my expressionless face, he grew agitated. Didn't you say you didn't want it back then? How could you use my love for you to stab me in the back now? On the eve of our wedding 3 years ago, Luca G signed a share transfer agreement, saying I was his everything, and what was his was mine. I was deeply moved and locked the agreement in the safe. Luca, I don't care about these things, as long as you're by my side and never betray me. But he betrayed me, so this agreement has resurfaced. I ignored Luca G and looked around. From now on, I will be the chairman of the G family. Those who have objections can choose to transfer their shares at market price, and I will take over all of them. Everyone present was shrewd enough to know that stubborn resistance would not benefit them. Besides, they held only a small number of shares, so no matter what, the position of chairman would never fall to them. Moreover, in their eyes, I was just a foolish girl blinded by revenge. I am easier to control than Luca G. I agree too. My proposal was passed unanimously. I disagree. Luca G trembled all over and shouted. I called security, and he was dragged out of the meeting room. Watching his disheveled figure retreat, a smile curled at the corner of my lips. Luca G, you're out. The game isn't over yet. Luca G was kicked out of the G family. After taking over the G family's business, I began a thorough self-audit of the accounts, gathering all financial loopholes related to Luca G, while simultaneously poaching the G family's clients. Any enterprise, whether good or bad, cannot withstand scrutiny if one is determined to investigate. 3 days later, evidence of Luca G's tax evasion and a letter of complaint were delivered to the Tax Bureau chief's desk. Most of the G family's clients were intercepted by the Shia family. The G group was required to rectify its practices and make up for the evaded taxes. Luca G was arrested, sentenced, and imprisoned. On the day of the trial, I observed the court proceedings. Luca G was unshaven and looked utterly dejected and disheartened, while his mother sat nearby silently weeping. In an effort to reduce Luca G's sentence by a few years, His mother sold almost all the family's assets that could be liquidated. After the trial, I met Luca's mother at the door. Her gaze was complex, a mix of sympathy and resentment. I never agreed to Luca marrying you. As expected, you're nothing but trouble, but I also feel sorry for you, for everything Luca G did to you. She wiped her tears. Everything that happened to him now is the consequence of his own actions. Tessa Shia, what he owed you has been repaid. From now on, let's act as strangers. I smiled and looked at her. Has it really been repaid? Aunt G was taken aback. You know, mad, truly mad. Her eyes filled with terror as she fled in panic, tripping and falling over a curb on the roadside. I did not let Luca G off the hook. What does it matter if he's in prison? My father, who loved me dearly, is never coming back, and the one who caused all of this is Luca G. I have submitted additional evidence to the court proving that Luca G intentionally framed the Shia group, resulting in an additional 2-year sentence for Luca G. However, there is no evidence to prove that Luca G was responsible for my father's death, but it doesn't matter what the law cannot achieve. I will make sure Luca G suffers a fate worse than death through other means. I have used my connections to ensure that Luca G enjoys his time in prison to the fullest. A month later, the G family went bankrupt and underwent restructuring, with the Shia group stepping in to acquire it. On the day the acquisition was finalized, Sai Chenyu found a restaurant to celebrate. As soon as they met, he gave a thumbs up. That's amazing. The failing G family was a bottomless pit, but bankruptcy changed everything. A starved camel is still bigger than a horse. So many people were eyeing this lucrative opportunity, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Impressive, truly impressive. I raised my wine glass and clinked it lightly with his. Just a small trick. Without boss Sai's support, it wouldn't have been possible. Oh my, President Shia, President Sai, what an honor to run into you here. A man with a plump face and large ears walked over, beaming as he extended his hand for a handshake. I'm Xiao Ming from Minghong. We met during the Chamber of Commerce leadership transition. Seeing that I didn't respond, he took out his business card and handed it to me with both hands. Oh my, what a coincidence. I took the card and thought hard, but still couldn't recall who this person was. Nevertheless, I nodded politely at him. His female companion quietly moved behind him, as if hiding from someone, noticing that I was looking behind him. He patted his companion's hip and said with a smile, "This is my little honey, come. Offer a toast to President Shia and President Sai." Xiaomi struggled as he dragged her in front of me, and I took a closer look. Oh, it's someone I know. It's Lu Weiwei. She's quite capable, already out of prison, and she's even hooked up with a small-time boss. I won't. I refuse to toast. She frantically shook off the man's grubby hand and ran out as if fleeing for her life. President Ming threatened viciously. You cheap wretch. You shameless bitch. Just wait till I get you home, I'll make you pay. He cheerfully tried to exchange contact information, but Sai Chenyu stepped in and refused on his behalf. President Ming, perhaps you should deal with your family matters first. Mr. Ming still maintained his smile. All right, this is just a little pet of mine, ignorant and rude. My apologies. I gave a non-committal hum, and Mr. Ming left reluctantly. 10 years later, Luca G was released from prison. During his time in prison, he was tormented daily by his cellmates. 2 of his ribs were broken, he was left with a limp, lost an eye. Not to mention the psychological torment he endured. He lost his home, was penniless, and was even turned away when he applied for a dishwashing job at a restaurant. He stood in the cold wind, shivering from the chill. Meanwhile, on the large screen in the city center square, an interview with the nation's top 10 female entrepreneurs was being broadcast. On camera, Tessa Shia appeared confident and radiant, as if she were glowing. He looked at himself, then at the TV, and unconsciously shed a tear. Tessa, I really know I was wrong. In this life, I can only look up to you from afar. The end.